Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Danat Pranams. Thank you all for joining in for our TLC study session this afternoon. I hope all of you have done Pushpanjali, broken your fast, and ready for the session. Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Tirubha Mahamotsava ki Jai. Shri Gadadhar Pandit Tirubha Mahamotsava ki Jai. We'll start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavaamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dushe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Girim Yat Kripadamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. Ajanulambita Bujau Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro Kamalayataksho Vishwambarau Dvijavarau Yugadharmapalo Vande Jagat Priyakarau Karunavataro. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all for joining in once again. We are on chapter number 27 of Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Yesterday we read how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted the Mayavadi philosophers, Prakashananda Saraswati and his entire team of devotees, and all of his disciples, and how he converted the impersonalist Sarva Bhattacharya into becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Right? If the Lord wants, then anything can happen. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Right? What is dharma? Dharma is to do what is declared in the scriptures. And what is declared in the scriptures is what is the word of God. Right? What the Lord says is what is the scripture. And that is what is the dharma that needs to be followed. Right? Now let's move ahead. This is very, very interesting. Very wonderful discussion that's going to happen. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai, some say was Lalita Devi, some say was Vishakha Devi. However, it doesn't matter whether Lalita Devi or Vishakha Devi. They were very close associates. They were the closest of the associates of Srimati Radharani, who used to assist in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Golok Vrindavan Dham. So this is a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, and who's Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and Ramananda Rai, who is either Vishakha Devi or Lalita Sakhi. So it's actually a conversation between two Sakhis, if we see, right? So let us go ahead and read. What is it? These are various question answers. right? Asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and answered by Ramananda Rai. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will tell him, okay, there is something still higher. There's still something still higher. And then finally Ramananda Rai will say, I am like a veena. Like I am like a string instrument and you are stringing me. You are making me tell everything that you want to hear. And that's what I'm speaking. So in that way, there's a wonderful conversation which we will read now. Devotees can raise your hands and then we continue studying chapter number 27 entitled Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai. All right. Sridhar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Mataji. Chapter 27, Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Raya. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita has described Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the ocean of transcendental knowledge of Sri Ramananda Raya as the cloud, which is produced from that ocean. Ramananda Raya has greatly advanced scholar in devotional service, and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, he gathered all transcendental conclusions, just as a cloud gathers water from the ocean. As the clouds appear from the ocean and then go all over the world to distribute water, which then return to the ocean, as by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, Ramananda Raya attained his higher knowledge of devotional service, and again after retiring from service, went to join Lord Chaitanya in Puri. When Lord Chaitanya visited the southern part of India, he first went to the great temple known as Jaya Nrsimha Kshetra. This temple is situated in the place of Simhachala, 5 miles from Visakhapatnam. The temple is situated on the top of hill. There are many temples in that area, but the Jiva Nrsimha Kshetra temple is the largest of all. This temple is filled with beautiful sculptures of interest to many students, and due to this popularity, it is very rich temple. As inscription in the temple states that King of Vijayanagara formerly decorated this temple with gold and even covered the body of deity with gold plate. To facilitate attendance at the temple, there are free apartments for visitors. The temple is managed by the priest and Ramanucharya section. When the Lord Chaitanya visited this temple, he praised the deity and quoted a verse from Sridhara Swami commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.1. Ugrapya anugraha evayam swa bhaktanam na kesari kesariya swa padanam Anushyam Ugra Vigrama. Although Lord Narasimha is very severe to demand and non-devotees, he is very kind to his submissive devotees like Prahlada. Lord Narasimha appeared as the offline incarnation of Krishna when Prahlada, a boy devotee of the Lord, has harassed by his demonic father Hiranyakasipu. Just as the lion is very ferocious to other animals, but very kind and submissive to his cub. As Lord Narasimha appeared ferocious to Hiranyakasipu and very kind to his devotees Prahlada. After visiting the temple,
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So this is a very beautiful example that Prabhupada actually gives in many of his lectures, right? Ugropi anugrayevayam swabhaktanam drakeshari Keshariva swapotanam anyesham ugra vikramaha. Right? We were discussing the example yesterday also. Right? The lion is very ferocious to other animals, but when the lion has its own cub in its mouth, the lion cub finds itself most protected in the mouth of the lion. Right? But if there is any other animal that is caught in the mouth of the lion, then it is death for that particular animal. But for the lion cub. So similarly, when Narsingadev appeared in a very, very ferocious form, right? Even then, the only one person who was not at all scared about this ferocious form of Narsingadev was Prahlad Maharaj. Everyone else was so, even the devotees, right? For that reason, even Lakshmi Devi was said that I'm not used to this form of the Lord, this ferocious form of the Lord, right? He's not my husband, right? So in this way, if one is because the Lord appeared for Prahlad Maharaj and the Lord also, the Lord, like if the Lord wants to, like whatever be the external form of the Lord, right? What we perceive in our heart is what the Lord wants us to see, right? It's not through our material eyes what we see, right? Of course, in the current material situation, whatever we see, if it is ferocious, we'll get scared. If it is nice, wonderful form, we'll get we'll get wonder and amazement, etc. Because we are seeing through the external eyes. But seeing the Lord or understanding the leaders of the Lord are not through the external eyes or the external brain or the intelligence, material intelligence, right? So when we understand the Shastra through the when we understand the Lord through the Shastra Chakshusha, through the eyes of the scriptures, then the understanding is completely different, right? So that's why when Prahlad Maharaj saw Narasimhadev, he did not see a ferocious form. He saw that form of the Lord who had specifically appeared to protect him, right? And we all know what happened, right? When Hiranyakashipu, when Narasimhadev actually killed Hiranyakashipu, even after that he could not be pacified, because Narasimhadev was so ferocious, he was so angry with Hiranyakashipu that he was troubled his pure devotee Prahlad Maharaj. So he was like, he could not be pacified, right? So much of anger is coming out of him, right? And he's so ferocious, and he's what do you call the ferocious roar of a lion, right? Much more than that. An angry lion, how it will be so ferocious, what kind of sound, fierce sound it will make, right? Like that Narasimhadev was making much higher than a normal lion, right? That's a material lion. But Narasimhadev is half man half lion, and he is very angry, right? And the only person who could pacify Narasimhadev was Prahlad. And when Prahlad went and glorified the Lord with these wonderful prayers, then what happened? Narasimhadev actually picked up Prahlad, put him in his lap, and started licking. Right? That's how the lion shows its love to its cub, isn't it? Started licking. Right? So in this way, the most ferocious Lord became the most lovable person, or the person who to whom one can be so much attracted to, so much affectionate to, so to whom one can love, one can repose all of one's love to, like that for Prahlad Maharaj. So that is the reciprocation of the Supreme Personality of the Lord of Godhead with his loving devotees. Okay, let's move ahead. And this is the this is remembered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he went to this kshetra. All right, Rajanish Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Yes.
After visiting the temple of Jyada Narsingh, the Lord proceeded further into South India and ultimately reached Vidyanagar on the bank of Godavari. While on the bank of this river, the Lord remembered the Yamuna river in Vrindavan, and he considered the trees on the bank to the forest of Vrindavan. Thus he was in Tiketse there. After taking a bath in Godavari, the Lord sat near the bank and began chanting Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. While sitting and chanting, the Lord saw that the governor of the province, Sri Ramanand Raya, had reached the banks of the river, accompanied by his associates, which included a single Brahman. Previously, the Lord had been asked by Sarabhuma Bhattacharya to visit the great devotee Ramananda Raya at Kabul. The Lord could understand that the man approaching the riverbank was Ramananda Raya, and he desired to see him immediately. But because he was in an renowned order of life, he restrained himself from going to see a person involved in being a great devotee. Ramananda Raya was attracted
By the features of Lord
Ramananda
Chaitanya.
Raya had reached the bank of the told and understood that his way of he is a renowned order of life. Second, being a great devotee, Ramanand, being a great devotee, Ramanand Raya
Attracted
was attracted by the features of Lord Chaitanya, who appeared as a sannyasi, and he himself came to see the Lord. Upon reaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramanand Raya prostrated himself to offer his obeisances that Lord Chaitanya received by vibrating Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare. When Ramanand Raya when Ramanand Raya presented his credentials, Lord Chaitanya embraced. Both of them were overwhelmed by ecstasy. The Brahmins who accompanied Ramanand Raya were surprised to see them embracing in transcendental ecstasy. The Brahmins were all stalwart followers of the ritual, and they could not understand the meaning of such devotional systems. Indeed, they were rather surprised to see such a great devotee, such a Shudra, and they were also surprised to see Ramanand Raya, who was a great governor and practically king of the province, crying simply by touching a snake. Lord Chaitanya understood the Brahman's thoughts and considering the unfavorable situation that he had. After this, Lord Chaitanya and Ramanand Raya sat down together. Sarav, Sarava Bhuma Bhattacharya has spoken very highly of you, Lord Chaitanya informed him. So I have come to
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Sarav.
Prabhu. So
Hare
this is very wonderful, right? Again, we are seeing another instance wherein, Ramananda Rai is getting the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again because another devotee, right, is recommending to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that when you go, you meet Ramananda Rai, right? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya himself got converted because of the mercy of Gopinath Acharya. So he himself got converted from impersonalism to become a pure devotee of the Lord. And then he is also asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that when you're going to South India, there is this governor of Madras who is Ramananda Rai. So you go and meet him. He's a pure devotee, right? Like that, he's asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go and meet Ramananda Rai, right? Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all knowing, right? He is omniscient, right? He's omnipresent, right? He knows everything, right? So when he sees Ramananda Rai, right? Ramananda Rai is actually the governor, right? He's into politics and managing the administration and all that. So actually, a sannyasi is not supposed to interact with those vishayi. They say vishayi means somebody who's engaged too much in politics, administration of material activities, etc. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew Ramananda Rai, although he was executing such a post or he was holding such a post of governor, he was very much renounced. He was a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So all that he knew, right? But what happened? When he saw Ramananda Rai, right? He was so excited, he wanted to go and embrace Ramananda Rai. But there were a lot of Brahmanas also. Like when the politicians go, they are always accompanied with a lot of assistants and workers and all that. So similarly, Ramananda Rai also at that time, the leaders are always assisted by Brahmanas, right? They are always they take consultation and all that, in terms of the various swadharma activities that they do, and as part of the being the governor. So what happened? He was surrounded by a lot of ritualistic Brahmanas, right? But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he waited. He did not actually exhibit his ecstasy to go and meet to meet Ramananda Rai and embrace him, right? Later on, when Ramananda Rai saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the banks of the Godavari, right, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually took bath in the banks of Godavari, and he was sitting there, Ramananda Rai came and introduced himself. I am the governor of Chennai. I am so happy to meet you. He offers us obeisances. And then when Ramananda Rai goes and meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraces him. That time also the Brahmanas are thinking, oh, this is a sannyasi, right? They didn't know the importance, or they didn't know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord himself, right? They only thought that this is a sannyasi clad person. How is he embracing a Shudra, right? That time, even if one is the highest position, that the governor of a particular state, right? Governor of Madras, even such a person is considered a Shudra because one is working under under another person, right? If you are a mercantile person, you are a Vaishya. If you are an administrator, then you become a Kshatriya. And if you are If you have Brahminical qualities, you perform, Swadhyaya, you teach people Vedic Shastras, then you are a Brahmana, right? So according to the job profile of Ramananda Rai, he was a Shudra, right? So these Brahmanas were thinking, right, at least as per the Varnashrama system. Of course, Ramananda Rai was transcending the Varnashrama system because of pure devotee of the Lord. But as per the Varnashrama system, he was still falling under the category of Shudra because he was working as the governor. And the Brahmanas are those who are helping out with these affairs, giving him Shastric interpretations, etc. So they thought that, what is this? The sannyasi is embracing a Shudra. So like that they were thinking, and they started speaking like that. So that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu controlled himself, and then he actually informed Ramananda Rai, right, in various ways that could not be understood by others, that Ramananda Rai should come later in the night. And in this way, every day that the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, Ramananda Rai used to come in the night, late night, when nobody would be there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai would discuss throughout the night about what is the perfection of life. And then Ramananda Rai starts with performing Varnashrama Dharma. And then, because Krishna also said that, right? Chadur Varna Maya Shrishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, that is right, but there's something more better, right? And then again he goes on to tell that abandon all varieties of duty and surrender unto the Lord. And then he again goes, okay, something is better than that, like that. So the conversation goes in privacy between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. Okay, let's move ahead and study what it is. Okay, who will read? Oh, am I sharing my screen? Yeah, okay. All right, anyone else wants to read? Okay, Rajneesh Prabhu, you want to continue? Hare Krishna? Yes, Prabhu. Okay, Sindhu Mataji is there. Okay, let's Sindhu Mataji read. Okay, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, pranams Mataji.
Hare Krishna, pranams Mataji.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Sarvabhauma
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Yeah.
From there.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considers me one of his devotees. Ramananda Raya replied, therefore, he has kindly recommended that you see me. Ramananda Raya very much appreciated the laws touching a man of wealth. Generally, a king, gardener, or any politician was always absorbed in thought of political affairs and pounds, shillings, pence. Therefore, such persons are avoided by sannyasis. Lord Chaitanya, however, knew Ramananda Raya to be a great devotee, and so he did not hesitate to touch and embrace him. Ramananda Raya was surprised by Lord Chaitanya's behavior, and he cited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.4. Great personalities and sages appear in the homes of worldly men just to show them mercy. Lord Chaitanya's special treatment of Ramananda Raya indicated that although Ramananda Raya was born in a non-Brahminical family, he was far advanced in spiritual knowledge and activity. Therefore, he was more respectable than one who simply happens to be born in a Brahminical family. Although Ramananda, out of his meek and gentle nature, considered himself to be born in a lower Shudra family, Lord Chaitanya nonetheless considered him to be situated in the highest transcendental state of devotion. Devotees never advertise themselves as great, but the Lord is very eager to advertise the glory of his devotees. After meeting for the first time that morning on the bank of the Godavari, Ramananda Raya and Lord Chaitanya separated with understanding that Ramananda Raya would come in the evening to see the Lord. That evening, after the Lord had taken his bath and seated himself, Ramananda Raya came to see him with a servant. He offered his respects and sat down before the Lord. Before Ramananda Raya could even ask the Lord question about the advancement of spiritual knowledge, the Lord said, please quote some verses from scripture about the ultimate goal of human life. Sri Ramananda Raya at once replied, a person who is sincere in performing his occupational duty will gradually develop a sense of God consciousness. In this connection, he quoted a verse from the Vishnu Purana 3.8.9, which states that one worships the Supreme Lord by following the principles of one's occupational duty, and that there is no alternative for satisfying him. The purport is that human life is meant for understanding one's relationship with the Supreme Lord and acting in that relationship. Any human being can do this by dovetailing himself in the service of the Lord while discharging his prescribed duties. For this purpose, human society is divided into 4 classes: the intellectuals, Brahmanas, the administrators, Kshatriyas, the merchants, Vaishyas, and the laborers, Shudras. For each class, there are prescribed rules and regulations as well as occupational functions. The prescribed duties and qualities of the four classes are described in the Bhagavad Gita 18.41-44. The civilized society should be organized so that people follow the prescribed rules and regulations for their particular class. At the same time, for spiritual advancement, they should follow the four stages of ashrama, namely the student life brahmacharya, householder life grihastha, retired life vanaprastha, and renounced life sannyasa. Continue, Mataji. Ramananda Raya stated that those who strictly follow the rules and regulations of these 8 social divisions can actually satisfy the Supreme Lord, and one who does not follow them certainly spoils his human form of life and glides down towards hell. One can peacefully achieve the goal of human life simply by following the rules and regulations which apply to oneself. The character of a particular person develops when he follows the regulative principles in accordance with his birth, association, and education. The divisions of society are so designed that many people with spiritual advancement as well,
Many people with different characteristics can be regulated under those
can be regulated under those divisions for the peaceful administration of society and for spiritual advancement as well. The social classes can be further characterized as follows. Number one whose aim is to understand the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, and who has thus devoted himself to learning the Vedas and similar literatures is called a Brahmana. 2, a person whose occupation involves displaying force and administering the government is called a Kshatriya. 3, one who is engaged in agriculture, herding cows, and doing business is called a Vaishya. 4, one who has no special knowledge but is satisfied by serving the other 3 classes is called a Shudra. If one faithfully discharges his prescribed duties, he is sure to advance towards perfection. Thus, regulated life is a source of perfection for everyone. One who leads a regulated life centered around devotional service to the Lord attains perfection. Otherwise, such a regulated life is simply a useless waste of time.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So this is very interesting, right? Ramananda Rai is saying, if one is properly regulated, yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshasya karmashu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yoga bhavati dukkha, right? Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita also that somebody who is regulated in his eating, sleeping, recreation, and work, right, can easily transcend the three types of miseries, right? Adhyatmik, adhibautik, and adhideivik, right? Because he's regulated, he does not overeat, he does not make an undue endeavor, because he's regulated in all of his eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? But when Ramananda Rai actually tells this, that Varna and Ashrama, Varna is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, that we already discussed. Ashrama is Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi, right? Even in the 18th chapter, Arjuna asks Krishna, right, what is better, Tyaga or Sannyasa? And then Krishna says Tyaga is better. Why? Because sannyas is just an order of life. Whereas one can be a grihastha but still can be a sannyasi if he is practicing Tyaga. What is Tyaga? Tyaga means not working, renouncing one's renouncing the sense gratificatory propensity when we do our work, whether it is Swadharma or it is Sanatana Dharma. Right? We work only for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is called Tyaga. And that Tyaga can be performed even when one is in the Grihastha ashram or a Brahma or a what is that? Vanaprastha ashram. One need not take the saffron cloth to practice the principles of sannyas. Right? The principles of sannyas is to not work for one's own sense gratification, but to work for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is told by Ramananda Rai also here. Right? That one has to work according to one's varna and ashrama. That Krishna says is according to guna and karma, right? If I am born in a Brahminical family, but I don't have any Brahminical qualities, I will be called a Brahma Bandhu. Just like Ashwathama, he was a Brahma Bandhu. He did not have any Brahminical qualities. He even went and killed the 5 sons of Draupadi who were just sleeping, right? In the tent, right? So he did not have any Brahminical quality. Even Duryodhana did not approve of this act of Ashwathama. So in this way, so he's not a Brahmana by his qualities. He is just a son of Dronacharya. So he is just simply a Brahma Bandhu, a relative of a Brahmana. So here, Ramananda Rai is saying that one who follows his Varnashrama, that is whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or a Shudra, depending on one's ability, depending on one's desire, depending on one's activity. Right? And if he performs their duty without any attachment to results, simply for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then what happens? Such a person will automatically attain perfection of human life, right? Not necessarily immediately, but if it is said that if somebody performs varnashrama dharma properly and performs charity, right? If he's a grahastha, he performs charity. If he is a brahmacharya, then of course he studies he performs swadhyaya. That means he studies the Vedic scriptures and teaches others, right? For example, whatever is the profession that we take, right? If I think I have brahminical qualities, then I study the Vedas and I teach Vedas to others, right? In this way I perform that activity not to earn my bread, right? But simply as a matter of teaching others, because that is what is my innate desire, right? To learn as well as to teach the Vedic scriptures. Or as a grahastha, if I want to if I want to enter into the grahastha ashram, then charity is most essential, right? I look out for avenues where I make money through legitimate means, and then I use a portion of that money for the purpose of propagation of Krishna consciousness. I give charity to those purposes which will enable me to evolve in my consciousness. So in that way, if every varna and ashram are able to perform their duty without any aham mameti, what is in it for me, then what happens? One slowly but gradually evolves oneself to come to the platform of detachment, right? So one earns a lot of money with hard work and then gives charity. Then what happens? He's not attached to the money. Oh, I have earned this money, let me hog it, let me keep it in the Godrej, let me enjoy it. No, that is not the mentality, right? So what does he do? He gives it in charity to those people who are in need, who are actually deserving. That's what Prabhupada actually says. Charity, give it to those people who are spreading Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada says. So in that way, when one performs one's varnashrama dharma properly, without any expectation of any kind of return out of it, then one automatically progresses, right? But such a regulated life without Krishna in the center is again a waste of time. That's what it is. All right, let's move ahead. Who was reading? Anjana Mataji, go ahead. After hearing Ramananda Rai expound from there.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
After hearing Ramananda Rai expound upon the proper execution of regulated life, Lord Chaitanya said that such a life is simply external. Indirectly, he asked Ramananda Rai to describe something superior to such external exhibition. For a formal execution of rituals and religion is useless unless aimed at attaining the perfection of devotional service. Lord Vishnu is not satisfied simply by a ritualistic adherence to Vedic instruction. He is actually pleased when one attains the stage of devotional service. According to the verse cited by Ramananda Rai, one can rise to the point of devotional service by ritualistic performance in Bhagavad Gita 18.45. 46. Krishna, who appeared in order to deliver all classes of people, states, Sve Sve Karmani Abhi.
स्वे कर्मणि अविरतः संसिद्धिं लभते नरः स्वकर्माणि रतः सिद्धिं यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वम् इदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तम् अभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः.
Krishna, a human being can attain the highest perfectional stage of life by worshipping the Supreme Lord, from whom everything has emanated, though his occupational duties. This perfectional process was followed by great devotees like Bodhayana, Tanka, Dhamida, Guhadeva, Kappa,
All names of devotees,
and
Kappardi and
Baruchi. All these great personalities followed by this particular path of perfection. The Vedic injunction also aim in the direction. Ramananda Rai wanted to present these effects before the Lord, but apparently mere discharge the ritualistic duty is not perfection. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said that It was external, indicated that if a man has a material conception of life, he cannot attain the highest perfection, even if he follows all the ritualistic regulations. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So everything, samsiddhir haritoshanam. If everything is done for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the only method for success, right? Otherwise, externally we may be performing our duties perfectly, right? As a, like, sometimes we even find in our offices also, right? Some people are very, very humble. Some people are very, very honest, truthful. They will never cheat others. Morally, they are very, very, impeccable character, very, very wonderful, right? But all of these qualities, like the verse goes, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunais tatra samadhate sura harava bhaktasya guto mahan guna manoratena sati davato bahihi, right? If a devotee has got all of these wonderful qualities like humility, compassion, tolerance, etc., then those are like ornaments in the in the body of the devotee. But whereas if all of these wonderful qualities are there, but the devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not there, right? Then it is mano radena sati davato bahihi. Then all of these qualities are of no use. Why? Because the essential quality of devotion is not there. They are all lingering in the mental and the mental platform, where somebody is just exhibiting some kind of humility or compassion or tolerance or charity, etc., simply for the purpose of getting some name, fame, glory, which will die with the body. Right? The benefit of that will not extend to the soul, will not extend to the will not extend to the point of getting one back home, back to Godhead. Right? Hence, these have been rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as these are not good. Varnashrama system, even though practiced very, very wonderfully with perfection to the T, right? Grihastha is doing very nice charity, etc., etc., but devoid of devotion, everything is shrama eva hi kevalam, it is useless labor, like that. All right. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is again asking Ramananda, you tell something better, right? So in this way, let's see what Ramananda Rai is answering again. Okay, let's move chapter number 28. Okay, let me share my screen. This is entitled Relationship with the Supreme, right? The relationship means what? We know the sambandha, and then only we are able to do the abhideya. So that is what it is. So we need to understand our relationship with the Lord, which is Jivera Swarupe Krishna Nityadas, like that. All right. Rishabhanuganya Mataji, go ahead. Chapter number 28. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Relationship with the Supreme. Lord Chaitanya rejected the statement cited by Ramananda Rai from the Vishnu Puran, because the Lord wishes to reject a class of philosophers known as Mimamsakas. The flowers of karma. Mimamsa philosophy teaches the gods teach that God is subject to the one's work. Their conclusion is that if one works nicely, God is bound to give good results. Thus, from the statement of the Vishnu Purana cited by Ramananda Rai, one might conclude that Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, has no independence but is bound to award a certain kind of result to the worker. Such dependent God becomes subject to the worshipper, who accepts the Supreme Lord as both impersonal and personal, as he wishes. Actually, the Karma Mimamsa philosophy stresses the impersonal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth, because Lord Chaitanya did not like such impersonalism. He rejected it. Tell me if you know something beyond this conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Lord Chaitanya said. Brahmananda Rai understood the purpose of Lord Chaitanya, and after stating that it is better to give Krishna the result of favorite fruitive activities, he quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita 9.27. Yat karosi yadad nasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurusva mat aparanam
Arpanam.
Arpanam. O son of Kunti, whatever you do, whatever you set, whatever you sacrifice, whatever you give away, and whatever whatever assurity you undergo to achieve some goal, everything should be decided to my service. There is a similar passage in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.36, which states that one should submit everything, all the result of the fruitive activities one perform with body, speech, mind, senses, intelligence, soul, and modes of nature to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Lord Chaitanya, however, also rejected this second statement, saying, if you know of something higher, state it, offering everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as enjoined by the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is better than impersonally making the Supreme Lord subject to our work, but it is still short of surrendering to the Supreme Lord. A worker's identification with material existence cannot be changed without proper guidance. Such fruitive activities will continue once material existence. A worker is simply instructed here to offer the results of his work to the Supreme Lord, but there is no information given to the enable one to get out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya rejected his proposal. After having
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So again, the second proposal also rejected. First proposal, Varnashrama Dharma, just perform Varnashrama Dharma nicely and then we'll get. That is rejected. Why? Because without devotion, Varnashrama Dharma will only lead to better life, better human species maybe. But not, cannot go back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without devotion. The second one, what did he say? Just offer the results. Yat karoshi yadashnashi yat juhoshi dadashi yat tapashyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do. That means whatever I want to, whichever way I want to earn money, then I earn money. We work for 12 hours on the day, and then I contribute for some for some annadan or from some distribution of Bhagavatam, etc. So I just give a portion of my salary for Krishna service, which is also good, right? Krishna tells in chapter 12, if you cannot do this, do this. If you cannot do this, at least do this, like that, right? So that is also good, but is that the best? That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, it is correct, it's not wrong, but then there is something even better. And then what is Ramananda Rai now going to say? He's going to say, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tuam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishami Machu. They reject everything, surrender everything, right? Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will protect you from everything. That's what Krishna says in 18.66 of the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? So that is what is going to be proposed by Ramananda Rai, and then let's see what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to say. Okay, who will read next? Okay, Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. After having his suggestions rejected twice.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
After having his suggestions rejected twice, Ramananda proposed that one should forsake his occupational activities altogether and by such detachment rise to the transcendental plane. In other words, he recommended complete renunciation of worldly life. To support this proposal, he cited evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.11.32, wherein the Lord says, in the scriptures I have described the ritualistic principles and the way one can become situated in devotional service by giving them up. That is the highest perfection of religion. Ramananda also quoted Lord Krishna's similar statement in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarvadharmam Parityajya Ma Megham Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshasami Mahasujaha. Give up all kinds of religiousness and just surrender unto me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions and you will have nothing to be aggrieved for. Lord Chaitanya also rejected this third proposal from Ramananda Roy, for he wanted to demonstrate that renunciation itself is not sufficient. there must be positive engagement. Without positive engagement, the highest perfectional stage cannot be attained. Generally, there are two kinds of philosophers in the renounced order of life. The goal of one is nirvana, and the goal of the other is the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Such philosophers cannot imagine that they can reach beyond nirvana and the Brahman effulgence to the Vaikuntha planets of the spiritual sky. Because in simple realization, there is no conception of spiritual planets and spiritual activities. Lord Chaitanya rejected this third proposal. Ramananda Roy then cited more evidence from the Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma Buddha Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu budeshu mat bhaktim labade param. When by cultivation of knowledge, a person realizes himself to be non-different from the supreme absolute truth, he becomes joyful and is freed from all kinds of lamentation and material desires. At that time, he perfects his Brahman realization by seeing everyone on the same spiritual level. Such Brahman realization can elevate one to the transcendental stage of devotional service. Ramananda Raya first suggested devotional service with renunciation of the fruits of one's work. But here he suggests that devotional service with full knowledge and spiritual realization is superior. Lord Chaitanya, however, also rejected this proposal because simply by renouncing material results in Brahman realization, one does not realize the spiritual world and spiritual activities. Although there is no material contamination, when one attains the stage of Brahman realization, in that stage, one is still not perfectly pure because there is no positive engagement in spiritual activity. Because it is still on the material plane, it is external. The pure living entity is not liberated unless he is completely engaged in spiritual activity. As long as one is absorbed in impersonal thoughts or thoughts of the void, one's entrance into an eternal, blissful life of knowledge is not complete. When spiritual knowledge is not complete, one will be hindered in his attempt to cleanse the mind of all material variegatedness. Thus, impersonals are frustrated in their attempts to make the mind void by artificial meditation. It is very difficult to void the mind of all material conceptions. In the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is stated that those who indulge in such impersonal meditation find it very difficult to make spiritual advancement. In addition, whatever state they do attain is not complete liberation. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya rejected it. After his fourth purpose.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Haribol Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Bol. Yeah, so very wonderful here, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting that also. Rejecting means he's not saying it is not correct, right? Rejecting means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Ramananda Rai there is something still more better, right? What is that something more better? That way, Ramananda Rai is inspired by the Lord from his heart only to actually speak all these things, right? So what is he saying? First, he said Varnashrama Dharma. He said no. Second, he said okay, just surrender all the just give the results of the activities, right? Perform any activity according to your choice, but then surrender the results to me. Then he said no. Then third is Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamikam Sharanam Vraja. Renounce everything. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that also, saying that renunciation will not help unless there is some positive engagement. What is that positive engagement? Physically engaging in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that positive engagement is required. So he said, no, even that is not. Then Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Very wonderful. There is no hankering, there is no lamentation. That we always discussed. Right? It is zero. Zero axis mein bliss bhi nahi hota hai. There is no hankering, there is no lamentation, there is no misery, but there is no happiness, there is no bliss also. Right? So for that positive engagement or engaging one's senses in the service of the Lord, which is bhakti, that is the essential factor that is missing. So this also was rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, what is the fifth proposal? Who will read it? Let's see what was Ramananda Rai's fifth option in answering Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's question. Okay, Madhurima Mataji, go ahead. And then Karpagavali Mataji and then Anusha Mataji. All right.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
After his fourth, Hare Krishna.
Hare, after his fourth proposal was rejected, Ramananda Rai said that devotional service rendered without any attempt at mental speculation or cultivation of knowledge is the highest stage of perfection. To support his view, he gave evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3, wherein Lord Brahma tells the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mataji, aap pad dijiye.
ane prayasamudapasya namanta eva जीवन्ति सन्मुखरितां भवदीयवार्तां स्थाने स्थिता श्रुतिगतां तनुवान् मनोभिर् ये प्रयासो अजितजितोऽपि असितैस्त्रिलोक्याम्.
My dear Lord, one should give up monistic speculation and the cultivation of knowledge altogether. He should begin his spiritual life in devotional service by receiving information of your activities from a realized devotee of the Lord. If one cultivates his spiritual life by adhering to these principles and keeping himself on the honest path of life, then although your lordship is never conquered, you become conquered by the devotee following such a process. When Ramananda Rai presented his proposal, Lord Chaitanya at once said, "Yes, this is right." In other words, Lord Chaitanya agreed that this process conforms to his mission. In this age, there is no possibility of acquiring spiritual knowledge by discharging one's duties in Varnashram Dharma system, by devotional service mixed with spiritual activity, by renunciation, or by devotional service mixed with the culture of knowledge, because most people are fallen and because there is no time to elevate them by a gradual process. The best course, according to Lord Chaitanya, is to let them remain in whatever condition they are in, but to engage them in hearing of the activities of the Supreme Lord, as those activities are explained in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The transcendental message of the scriptures should be heard from the lips of realized souls. In this way, a person may continue to live in whatever condition he is in and still make spiritual progress. Thus, one can surely advance and fully realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Lord Chaitanya accepted these principles, he still requested Ramananda Rai to further explain advanced devotional service. Thus, Lord Chaitanya gave Ramananda Rai a chance to discuss gradual advancement from the principles of Varnashram Dharma, the 4 castes and the 4 orders of spiritual life, through the offering of the results of fruitive activity and through the speculative discussion of spiritual knowledge. Lord Chaitanya rejected all of these because in the field of executing pure devotional service, there is very little use for such principles. Without self-realization, such artificial methods of devotional service cannot be accepted as pure devotional service. Self-realized pure devotional service is completely different from all other kinds of transcendental activity. The highest stage of transcendental activity is always free from all material desires, creative efforts, and speculative attempts at knowledge. In the highest stage, one concentrates on the simple, favorable execution of pure devotional service.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this is actually resonates with that verse. What is that? Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadhi anavritam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. So that is the pure devotional service. That we render service to the Lord. We're not simply renouncing things, but we're utilizing everything in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And jnana karmadhi anavritam, not being swayed by mental speculation, right? Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, favorably being engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhakti Ruttama. Then it is said to be topmost devotional service. And yet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed to Ramananda Rai, but yet he is talking about how Samsiddhir Haritoshanam or attaining Krishna Prema is the most essential aspect of the performance of Varnashrama Dharma, right? Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. That is the goal of performing all of the activities that we do, whether it is Swadharma or Sanatana Dharma. Okay. So, Anusha Mataji, go ahead. Okay. And then Karpagalli Mataji can complete it. Yeah. Ramananda Rai could understand.
Hare Krishna Mataji and with pranams. Ramananda Rai could understand the motive of Lord Chaitanya, and therefore he stated that attainment of pure love of Godhead is the highest perfectional stage. In the Padyavali, there is a very nice verse which is said to be composed by Ramananda Rai himself. The meaning of the verse is, as long as there is hunger in the belly and one feels like eating and drinking, one can become happy by taking various eatables. Similarly, there may be much paraphernalia for worshipping the Supreme Lord, but only when that worship is mixed with pure love of Godhead does it become an actual source of transcendental happiness. Another verse composed by Ramananda Rai states, even after millions and millions of births of pious activities, one cannot achieve a sense of devotional service. But if somehow or other one desires to attain devotional service, the association of a pure devotee will make it possible. Thus, from any available source, one should try to acquire a strong desire to engage in devotional service. In these two verses, Ramananda Rai has described the regulative principles and developed love of Godhead, respectively. Lord Chaitanya wanted to bring him to the stage of developed love of Godhead, and he wanted him to speak from that platform. Thus, the discussion between Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya will now proceed on the basis of love of Godhead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here, Raganuga Bhakti and then Prema Bhakti, right? So here, Raganuga Bhakti means what? Spontaneously, there is love between the servitor and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example here that if you are very hungry, right, then one really becomes happy, right? Today we all fasted till 12 o'clock, isn't it? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance at the Tirobhav Tithi, sorry, disappearance day. Right? After that, we were so happy to have the nice prasadam. Isn't it? We did Pushpanjali and then we did Aarti. And then we had the wonderful prasadam. And then what did we feel? We felt nourished. We felt satisfied, right? It's a kind of happiness, right? That's why Prabhupada says that one need not go around and ask everybody, am I satisfied? Is my stomach is full? No, not necessary. Because one feels it automatically. Similarly, when one has the desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will get opportunities. When one gets the opportunity, when utilizes that opportunity and serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will feel the transcendental bliss in his heart. He does not need to go and ask anybody else about it, right? And then now the highest level of this is Prema Bhakti, right? Bhava Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. Like that, nectar of devotion. Rupa Goswami explains the three stages of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is where we are trying to become devotees, right? Raganuga bhakti is, or bhava bhakti is where we automatically have that spontaneous emotion to serve the Lord. Prema bhakti is the highest level, right? Where one, whatever be one stage, one is completely freed from any kind of aparad, any kind of Vaishnava aparad, any kind of offense. One is completely in the platform of pure bhakti, prema bhakti, towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where one is completely sold out to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We saw Jada Bharat, he fell down from the stage of Bhava Bhakti also. But from the stage of Prema Bhakti, one can never fall down because one is already situated in complete love of Godhead. Yeah. So let's go ahead and study the last part. Okay. Karpavali Mataji, right? Go ahead. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes,
Hare Krishna. Screen
is not there?
Yes, Mataji. Now it is there. If love of Godhead is elevated to personal affinity, it is called Prema Bhakti. In the beginning of Prema Bhakti, a particular relationship between the Supreme Lord and the devotee is not established. But when Prema Bhakti develops, a relationship with the Supreme Lord is manifested in different transcendental flavors. The first stage is servitude, wherein the Supreme Lord is accepted as the master and the devotee has this eternal Savaita. When Lord Chaitanya accepted this process, Ramananda Raya described the relationship between the Savaita and the master. He cited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.5.16, spoken by Durvasa Muni, a great mystic yogi who considered himself very elevated and envied Maharaja Ambrisha, who was known as the greatest devotee at that time. In an attempt to harass Maharaja Ambrisha, Durvasa Muni had met with a great catastrophe and has been defeated by the Sudarsana Chakra of the Lord. Durvasa Muni admitted his fault and said, for pure devotees who are always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, whose very name is sufficient for liberation, nothing is considered impossible. In the Stotra Ratnam 43, Yamunacharya writes, my Lord, those who keep themselves independent of your service are helpless. They work on their own account and they receive no support from superior authority. Therefore, I long for that time. When shall I engage fully in your transcendental loving service without any desire for material satisfaction and without hovering on the mental plane? Only then I engage in such unalloyed devotional service will I enjoy actual spiritual life. Upon hearing this statement, the Lord requested Ramananda Roy to go still further. Thank you, Mataji. Dandatana.
Thank you, Haribol. So they are talking about the 5 rasas, which we've already discussed in several of the previous classes, right? The Shanta rasa is not so much talked about because the reciprocation or the actual service starts with the Dasya Bhav, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, right? The Madhurya is going to be even Sakya for that reason. Sakya as well as Madhurya will be much more in greater detail explained again by Ramananda Rai. And then finally, Ramananda Rai is going to talk about the transcendental pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna. So as we approach the end, that is the supreme perfection. The supreme perfection is to assist in the pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna under the guidance of Guru, right? Under the guidance of Guru and Gauranga. So in that way, we will conclude this teachings of Lord Chaitanya, wherein the various teachings, two Sanatana Goswami, then two conversions of various Prakashananda Saraswati, what is his name, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and the discussions between Ramananda Rai as well as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like that we will summarize the entire discussion, and that will get completed in chapter number 32. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. So tomorrow we will continue with what Ramananda Rai is going to again explain more and more according to the questions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to ask him, right? What is in terms of pure love for Krishna? Already this is a perfected stage. Now we are going to talk about more perfection, most perfection, right? Like that. So we'll start with the next chapter, which is chapter number 29. So 29, 30, 31, 32. So in all probability, next week we will complete this, and then we'll start the Krishna book. So that's a plan. And Monday we will, of course, we'll do Monday, Tuesday Bhagavad Gita. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we will do teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And once we complete teachings of Lord Chaitanya, we will do Krishna book. Because of course tomorrow is Gundicha Marjana, cleaning of the temple, which is synonymous to cleaning our heart, to prepare our heart as Lord Jagannath would appear day after tomorrow, in the most auspicious occasion of Rath Yatra after the 15 days Anavasara period. And then we have the next major festival which is coming up, which is of course the Shri Krishna Janmashtami. Of course, Balram Jayanti comes before, and then Shri Krishna Janmashtami. So we will start with the study of Krishna book, where Krishna and Balaram's pastimes and all these pastimes from the Krishna book by Srila Prabhupada will be covered. So thank you all very much for joining in. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So devotees can switch on your cameras. We'll quickly do Harinam Sankirtan, and then we will see who all are there. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Gaur Nitai Jai Jagannath Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Rukmini Vitthal Jaya Guru Ayurappa Jai Radha Krishna Jaya Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Madhava Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Shat Goswami, Jaya Guru Parampara, Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Deva, Jai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Sridhar Prabhu, Karpagoli Mataji, Sindhu Mataji, Manimala Mataji, Rajneesh Prabhu, Nisha Mataji, joining us after a long time. Nisha Mataji. Nisha Mataji is going around the world somewhere walking. Okay, Harjit Mataji, Varun Prabhu, Ramya Mataji. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining in. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. So we'll meet you all 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for the Brahma Muhurta chanting session. Until then, let's continue with our chanting, our hearing, and our studying of Srila Prabhupada.